What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we're going to go over the picks I'm going to say that you should probably think about bringing to Ultimate Cup with the new rules and regulations in effect for it. Even though it was last minute, it is good to see what we can do with it. So without further ado, let's get into the video and talk about it. So you're going to see just one of each color. I think that is the best way of going about it. And to be honest with you, it's probably the only way we're going to do it. But I'm going to mention a few decks that might just be good runner-ups that will do well as well. But first off, let's take a look at it. Gallantmon itself. The reason why I'm bringing up Gallantmon is because of the format's change. You could still see a lot of War Greymons, Black War Greymons, and that is probably a possibility. But with the now abilities of us being able to not worry about, having that multi-protection through the Greymon, now they have to use source removal, which weakens their stack constantly. That can help us in the long game. Yes, we lose out in Cool Boy and in X Antibody in Gallantmon, but we don't really need it as much. We don't really care. Things that you might want to tech in, especially in the green matchup, is Gaussmon here, so your opponent can't reduce the Geolution cost. This will help negate some of that reducing they want to do. So Gaussmon is a very solid pick up for that matchup. Then we have like Guillemon X Antibodies, being able to delete your opponent's 3000 DP or less, but also making it so your DP destruction is a little bit better. You have Guillemon that'll help you search, Guillemon that'll let you draw. Then you have a Goonimon to Digivolve on top of your Tamers, which will help you out there. You have like Growlmon X Antibody. Then we have regular Growlmons that'll gain once you delete one of your opponent's Digimon. And then we have like War Growlmon to help us mill a little bit and get us a Digimon into play, or, Takato itself, which really does help speed us up a bit. War Growlmon X Antibody, basically making it so if we delete their Digimon, we gain memory back, keeping it our turn. Then we have like War Growlmon here that'll give us the extra security push. Gallantmon X Antibody, deleting one of your opponent's Digimon with a single DP. If it's still a single stack format, this really comes in useful. And it'll really come down to player preferences. Might recommend is playing some Crimson Blazes just in case D Reaper shows its ugly head again. And that might be your call to action there. And then your turn, when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, if Gallantmon or X Antibodies Geolution cards, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack, which now you rely a little more heavily on your Gallantmons, but the security +1, and then I think the starter deck one's still a little more viable because if you don't delete something, it at least becomes a 14k swinger, which can get over a lot of things and apply pressure, especially if you can get multiple security checks. You can OTK a little bit more. And then we do have like Gallantmon Crimson mode, being able to delete all your opponent's Digimon with the highest DP, but when attacking, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack, add 1 to the number of cards by this effect for every 10 cards in your opponent's trash. This is really useful if the accursion of purple decks are a little more higher, especially once we get into Beelzemon meta, which the PPG event for Ultimate Cup will not have it. So the first two Ultimate Cups, first couple actually, will not have it this month, but after this month, expect April's to have Beelzemon in the meta rankings, so it's going to really fluctuate. So I think Crimson mode will be a little more viable then, and that'll really help you out. And then you got the red memory boost, ties, heroes, Takato, just for that blitz and gaining memory. But this is all in all one of the better decks. You could actually play Ancient Greymon. That deck will OTK as well, but you lose out on, you're just going to have to hybrid game shenanigans a little more, so pay attention to builds and stuff like that. So Ancient Greymon might be a viable pick. Then you have, War Greymon and Black War Greymon. Both are going to be red base. I don't see Black War Greymon being the black base. You get Yuya out of that deal, but you do lose your consistency with Cool Boy, and X Antibody is gone. So those are going to be something you need to look at as well. But outside of that, I think that's pretty solid. Next pick, I really think All Force really dominates in this format. It's just, it doesn't have to fear Black War Greymon X anymore. It doesn't it can bounce boards very easily now, because now especially if they're in a single stack format, you're gonna be able to go like, when this Digimon becomes unsuspended, return one of your opponent's level 3 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand. For every blue tamer you have in play, add to the maximum level. Since most players will not be going up to megas, it might be worth keeping an eye on this. All Force is definitely a very powerful pick, just because of its multi-attack potential with its Rena tamer, being able to spit stuff out for free. But pay attention, because yes, Black War Greymon's gone, but Hades Force can come back to really eliminate stuff if players are playing in that kind of category. Especially if the problem with dual color, though, comes down to is that Hades Force is less reliable in War Greymon, but in Black War Greymon, if the deck still somehow survives and just adapts, you're going to see a lot more recursion with that, and now you have Hades Force to apply pressure that way. And that could be another threat to All Force if they adapt really well. But again, they have to go now to Greymon, red-based Greymon, that removes sources just to keep the protection live. So there's only so many times they can protect the bounce, but hey, that's just made to let you know. I mean, you have like Kaitis Breath, Blue Memboost. This is using Cliff's list that topped, 32 at the event of North America, using his list a little bit to demonstrate. I think this is a little more consistent than Leobon, but Leobon could be the better deck in this format, but we'll have to see. It's all player preference at this point, because All Force Vigramon will do what All Force Vigramon will always do. It'll OTK your opponent, bounce stuff, remove threats off board. So all in all, good stuff there. Then yellow, though. Oh, let me backtrack a little bit. Another deck that you might want to consider for blue is going to be the good boy of, blue hybrid. Possibly has some advantage field now, but we also have blue flare that can now strip sources and now make them more vulnerable. Stuff like that is going to play into your ideal play style, but keep that in mind that you're watching into it. I think blue flare is really good. Another deck is going to be blue hybrid. Some sort of stripping source removal decks can really do some stunning aspects, so expect some rogue categories that way. I don't know what they'll look like, but EX3 introduced a lot of punishment for having less sources that would pass turn and costing your evolves to go up. Since X Antibody's out of the meta, that means now you can punish a little bit more, because now there's no more tucking X Antibody underneath any of your decks. So that's going to be really nasty. Then we do have Shine Greymon. I think this is basically the only yellow deck you really have at your arsenal. The rest are a little more multicolor themed, but being able to tech in like Cutiemon and then like Pillowmon, being able to prevent green, this could really punish green a little bit more, and I think that's going to really value that much more, to be honest with you. And these two combo really nice together, and that'll just keep, even just worst case, if your opponent is still playing Black War Greymon X, this can stop Black War Greymon X into Metal Greymon, reducing cost. So that's really what it's in here for. You have Pillowmon just being Pillowmon. Patamon plus Rapidmon is now a very powerful combo still. And then, Kaze Zephyr into Jet Sylphie, recovering 1. But just having that top end Shine Greymon that can basically blanket the board in a way of minusing DP by 4,000 for every tamer. By minusing DP for every tamer you have, this can control the board state. So it does have a lot of potential. And like spicy cards like Megalospark is really going to be very powerful, just because now Black War Greymon has to choose between being red base or black base. Black base to keep the Yuya. If they go that route, you're a little more in struggling category, but if you're playing against red base, you just have a little better out in that situation, in my opinion. That is really what you want to take into that meta. And to be honest with you, the deck's going to do what it wants to do. I think yellow hybrid does have a little more potential in this format. Then Bloomlord, one of another best decks of the format. I think next to All Force. Both decks will really do some terrorizing in this format, and it'll definitely see its value, especially since it got new support in the way of Palmon, which will let you draw a card, and then you have Vegemon, which now doesn't see aren't as restricted as it was before. What do I mean by that? Well, you have to take into account that, you know, before you had to deal with Black War Greymon digivolving and popping and not keeping its turn and keeping it its turn just to go into your Digimon. Now you don't have to worry as much because, like I said, the restriction kind of makes it a little, it makes it power struggle on how they want to build the deck. So yes, Black War Greymon X probably will see him play, but all in all, I think this is pretty solid just to keep up with it. I mean, Bloomlord's going to OTK and apply pressure this way. Hydramon just keeps the protection going. And the deck is really good. I think spicing in Nidhogg to help control wide boards really is going to do something. And all in all, you know, Grandis can still see play, but I think at the end of the day, you really just want to go for more consistency. And I think Bloomlord's a little more consistent than Grandis at this point. And then for black decks, you have a couple options, but I think Machinedramon actually has a little more leeway here, just because of the fact is it does have the ability to de-digivolve, and basically it becomes a more stickier body because they can't de-digivolve you as much. So now your bodies stay on the board a little bit easier, because again, your really struggling matchup was the fact that you would get de-digivolved and then you're kind of screwed. But now you can make some consistency plays that you weren't really going to, because Black War Greymon is a little bit crippled in the format because they're on the same playing field as you. Cool Boy isn't as oppressive because there is no way of doing X antibodying with that deck. So Cool Boy's kind of just banned, and then X antibody is removed from the decks, so they can't just digivolve up and keep swinging, giving them free blitz basically just for digivolving up, and their protection effects are kind of gone too. So all in all, I think this is pretty solid. I mean, Machinedramon's going to do Machinedramon things, especially since you have full access to Attack of the Heavy Mobile Machines. You're just going to go black base and call it a day. Megadramon, you might want to play it at 2, so we could go this route. And the reason why I'm saying this is if All Force is going to be one of the decks to beat, you want to be able to kill multiple Digimon, and being able to use like Metal Mamamon plus Megadramon can also help up into the Bloom Hydra matchup, because you can start deleting their 3 play costs or their 5 play costs very easily, and then they're kind of losing out on their DP boost. And just because you can redirect with Analog Man makes it so your Digimon isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So I think this is a really good play style, and I think it has a lot of potential here. And I think just because of the abilities of reboot and blockers that it has innately, you can really apply a lot of pressure here. You just become a little more control based, which is fine by you at the end of the day. Then, what I also want to mention is probably best to go with like Commandramon as well as a good deck, because Death Hex is out of the format. Then you also have decks like, what is it? Galacticmon can actually do some crazy shenanigans here. So it's going to very much open up the meta quite a bit with a lot of these hits. And then let's get into Purple. Purple is going to be a very interesting one for a lot of players, because not a lot of people know how to build Purple. But I think Merva Star is going to be really good for the format. I think this deck basically really just struggled against Black War Greymon's multi-protection, but all in all, it just has the ability of spamming out bodies, being able to all your Digimon with Crossheart and Straits gain Retaliation and Rush and Blocker. So, or if it's Crossheart, you know it's Crossheart. But now your Soulmon with Retaliation, with Blocker and Rush, you can build up a defensive wall that just basically goes like, if you swing, I'm going to take your Digimon with me. There's not much they can do against that, because of the retaliation really does take out things, and double retaliation is a thing. So if you have a way of giving double retaliation, you're pretty good there as well. I mean, even Devimon just being able to block is going to help you out a lot, especially under Mervamon. Then you have like Bellastar being able to spit out more bodies with your nail bones, and then just control the board with Trump Sword and Fly Bullet. And what I think teching in one spicy card is, especially after this format, first month, once we get into, Beelzemon being a deck, you use Creepymon to help mill out, and that's really going to help out just because they're going to be milling their deck faster. But now you can use Creepymon as a explosive, oh, you're playing this, let me mill you out a bit. So that's kind of what you're going to do with this, and it's going to really, really apply pressure this way. So I think just having this tech style, and the deck's really controlling. It uses Trump Sword and Fly Bullet just to apply pressure, but using Nailbone to spit out bodies, really good. And then, like I said before, we have Beelzemon itself. With the starter deck, it comes with like Rival Barrage. This card is really good, especially, if it gets milled, you can control that a little bit more with the new Ayamako. That's really powerful. So, I mean, you won't be able to use this item, but reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 Digimon card with, place the remaining card, Evil Wizard, Demon Lord, and his traits among to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order, and then your turn, when one of your Digimon digivolves into a purple Digimon, you may suspend this tamer, place 1 card from the top of your hand, to the top of your deck, gain 1 memory, extending your plays a bit. So you can put Rival Barrage on top, and then just be able to, play it into the battle area with its delay effect to cycle back pieces. I mean, and the ability to double pop with Beelzemon is really good, because after a while you don't need to mill, and then you can just apply pressure this way. And the fact of the matter is, you also have access to the new Impmon. If you're at 20 or more, you get to Digivolve into a Beelzemon, ignoring its Digi-Evolution requirements, which means that you could go into this for its when Digivolving effect. You will miss timing with the when attacking effect, but that's fine. You don't really care. But you can also go into this Beelzemon as well, because when Digivolving, trash the top 4 cards of the deck. All turns, when a card is trashed from your deck, for every 10 cards in your chest, gain a memory. This can lead to being cheaper costs for this Impmon to swing in with. All the good stuff that really does help out. And then, you keep 1 blast mode, the old blast mode for the Ayamako combo, just because that's really useful. And then you have like blast mode, this one, that is its own combo, being able to apply pressure with this Beelzemon with the security +1, with this one being able to basically unspend this Digimon. If you have 20 more cards in your trash, gain 3 memory, keeping it your turn even more. So that's just really useful, especially when comboed with this Ayamako. So the deck has a lot of ground to cover for itself, and I think this deck will do some crazy shenanigans. And then finally, the white deck I think everybody's going to go into is, Mother D Reaper. Mother D Reaper hasn't lost anything. The only reason why the deck struggled as is was because we got into Black War Greymon X territory. So now that Mother D Reaper isn't going to be swung into as much, D Reaper is a really good tech choice. I mean, having X antibody be able to speed you up by putting it under Mother D Reaper, making your stuff play for cheaper and cheaper, really useful. And I mean, getting searchers underneath is quite easy, especially since this deck can just play the I'm going to choke you at 1 game very easily, and it's not going to bat an eye. I mean, even with Pendulum Feet, Bubbles, Jerry speeding you up, using Creepy Hand as your blocker, then using Pallady Head to try to control the board state, really useful. But what can be really nasty is Optimizer, especially if one of your Mother D Reaper has 5 or more Digi-Evolution cards. Reveal the top card of your deck. You may play 1 D Reaper and its traits. A play cost 10 or less among them without paying its memory cost. Place the remaining cards at the top of the deck in any order. So it gets to cycle through. Mostly everything on the low end here, basically from Optimizer down, is free to play. You get to miss out on Gatekeeper, but that's fine because you don't really care. Optimizer is just going to do what it needs to, just to spit out bodies. And then, got Reaper here, just being Reaper. So stuff like this is going to apply a lot of pressure. The deck has a lot of footings to go on. And I think if you're really a D Reaper fan, this is a deck for you. But all in all, I think you're pretty set for the format. And I think I covered a lot of the decks. If I missed something, let me know down in the comments what you think might have been a good choice. But I think, all in all, I think I got the best of the top ends of each color. But let me know down in the comments. Hopefully you guys like this video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.